You watching, Andrew?
Well, I just posted a video on the YouTube feed, but that's the end of. Oh, that's Division 2. Never mind.
All right, folks, we're sorry for that. We are back live. Had a little bit of technical issue there. And we're going to jump back on board with your race leader currently. Ricardo T still way out ahead on those 10-lap-old softs and still putting in good work, it looks like. So to reset your order after the disconnect there, we got Ricardo T in first place, Peter in second, Alfonso Luis in third, Travis Robinson with the fastest lap in fourth, Jack Pemberton in fifth, Victor Diaz in sixth, Ethan Patel in seventh, Gator in eighth, and Damian in ninth, and Tom rounding out your top 10.
So there's quite some action during the disconnect. So we unfortunately missed that. There's more and more drivers getting 3-second penalties for cutting. Notably Duncan McCamick, who had a 10-second major penalty for cutting the corner. Missed the action. Don't know if he slid, lost control, and went across the corner. 10-second major penalty. He went all the way down to P17. Is currently fighting his way back up the grid and is now P13.
And hopefully that does not continue for Duncan. Duncan had a rough race last time around in Mexico, and he's looking to not repeat that performance. As Peter is now taking over the race lead, he's gone to P1, overtaking Ricardo there. So nice tight battle here in the top three. Let's try to take a look now at the gaps. So interval times back up now. Everybody's still really tight in the top five. Victor Diaz represents the gap as he gets overtaken by Ethan Patel in P6. Let's take on right on board with Ethan and watch him try to run away. It looks like Victor may be in trouble behind from Gator as well. Nice little tight battle here for 6, 7, 8, and 9. Damian right on the back of all of that. The group really tight there.
Ethan's going to be in trouble. When they're going to get out of the Sector 2 and into that straight in Sector 3, Victor Diaz and Gator are going to be all over that rear end.
Jack Fletcher picks up a time penalty, and it looks like we've got Joel Guron is off. Let's take a step back with him and see what happened. Right at the exit of Sector 1. Cannot yet tell if Jack has, or if Joel has any damage. Yeah, his front wing is gone. He's going to be real slow. And man, I can tell you right now from experience, losing your wing through this section, it's the last place you want to lose it. It's really hard to keep it tight through here, especially when you got cars coming up behind you right now, like Moto Lee, who's absolutely flying behind him. I'm sorry, that's Taylor Carter.
So
Taylor Carter looking to make up some early lost positions there, and hoping Joel keeps it out of his way and keeps it clean. It's like the race leaders are keeping it super tight right now through the middle sector. Still all of them within DRS range, nice and tight and clean. Ricardo is taking the lead back from Peter, from Alfonso, from Travis, and so we'll probably see the lead swap here again if Peter can keep it really tight to Ricardo. DRS is very powerful, and depending on how much you manage your battery, that can make a big difference as well. As Peter's gone through a lot of his battery, but not quite as much as Ricardo. As Ricardo goes into the pits, and it looks like Peter and Travis will follow suit, so Alfonso inherits the lead, and he's going to stay out as these guys all pit for new tires.
Okay, so that's going to work for Alfonso there because he's got the undercut here is very strong. So is he going to stay out for multiple laps on these softs, or is he going to have to pit there? And he had to him and Ricardo couldn't pit at the same time, obviously. A little too close for the double stack there.
So the only thing that would have worked in their favor there is double stacking the box like that. Alfa Romeo would have actually blocked Travis, and so it would have made Travis's pit stop even longer, and Alfonso would have came out the worst for it, but you don't have to worry about the pain from behind potentially.
Most definitely.
So mind games can be played in there, but at this time when you've got Alfonso Luis right now currently leading the championship, you want to keep him as close to the front as you can, and you want him to be able to pick up as many points as possible. So working together and not working against each other, and the Alfa Romeos are doing a really great job of that right now. As Alfonso comes into the pits to get off those 13-lap-old softs, and I would assume he'll go the same way as Ricardo and put on a set of mediums. So Victor Diaz now inherits the lead with 14-lap-old softs. He'll need to pit again. Shaggy Muffin, 14-lap-old mediums. Jordan Higgins on the 14-lap-old softs is in third place. So Shaggy may inherit the lead of this race as the two around him are going to have to pit again. Looks like we have the majority of the field coming in. So far, Jack Pemberton and Travis Robinson choosing the hards, as does Bob in P17 and Taylor in P20, who is now exiting the pits on the new set of hards. Really tight racing here. Alfonso shuffles out to P6, and he's got Jack Pemberton all over the back of him. Jack saying, "Thank you very much. I've got my tires up to temp." And we have a virtual safety car.
Somebody did not have their temperatures up to temp, and Peter Giordano seemed to have spun out just on the exit of the pits.
Ah, okay. Let's right on board with Peter, who is sans a front wing. So the young Italian-American driver will not be happy because that's a very long time around. Lucky for him, as long as he keeps an eye on the Delta, he's not going to get thrown too far out of whack, but it is going to probably drop him down to P20. So if you're Victor Diaz, I think you have to go ahead and dive into the pits now, and Victor's going to do just that. Get off those, well, nobody can run at full speed behind him, and maybe he doesn't lose too many places here. We assume Jordan Angus will do the same, and Jordan does. Shaggy Muffin also in. Ricardo will retake the lead, and so he'll be happy for that safety car. It was never any doubt that Ricardo would take it back, but right now he gets to kind of control the pace, and he's just watching that Delta right now and waiting for that safety car to come in, or the virtual safety car to end. Virtual safety car over. However, it does look like we have a Jack Pemberton around. So back-to-back issues for the Cognizant Aston Martin team, as Jack now gets overtaken by Gator.
We're doing so well, and then blink of an eye, the whole race has completely changed for both drivers. They still got 20 laps to go, with a lot of things could happen. They're still in this. They just gotta keep their head down, keep focused, don't let the pressure get to their heads, and just get to it.
So right now we want to keep an eye on Ethan and Peter. They're both in the pits. Looks like they both put on a set of medium tires. So they'll have fresh mediums coming around, and Peter with that fresh wing and maybe a slight wing adjustment to give him a little bit of extra staying power through some of those corners. Josh Barnsley put on a set of softs, so he'll need to stop again. I don't think those are going to make it 20 laps. Jack Pemberton may have some wing damage. He is having a really rough time getting around. He's gone off twice on his way back in. So we'll see if he dives into the pits here. It looks like he's going to stay out, so maybe not quite as bad as we were thinking. Big mover and all that was Tom in the McLaren. Tom on those 16-lap-old mediums has moved up to P2. He's got Alfonso all over the back of him. Alfonso says, "I'll take that spot. Thank you very much. Tom, why don't you just stay right here, and I'm going to run away."
You notice if you're looking at Tom, he's running a setup with he's underfueled this car, so if the race were to keep on going exactly as is, he would run out of fuel until the end of the race.
Looking back at P7, 8, and 9, Damien within half a second on the same tire strategy as Jack, but behind them is Shaggy Muffin, who is on a fresh set of softs and looking to make up some real estate here as they work their way through the end of Sector 2. If Shaggy can get a good exit here, he's got DRS, and it looks like Damien may have gone around slightly, recovers it, and Shaggy takes that position. So now he's going to try to put the power down and try to make up that next spot to Jack Pemberton. He's just within DRS range, so if we ride on board with Shaggy, we should see that DRS flap open. There's the beep. DRS is wide open. He's going to have a really good run here on Jack Pemberton, who does not have the DRS. He'll have the grip into turn 1, and we'll see if he can make this move here in this first sector.
And he's got plenty of battery to use. I'm surprised he's not using it to make up that position. There it is, DRS and battery. Doesn't get quite close enough, so he's gonna have to be patient. He's got some hard tires up in front of him. He's gonna have to be stuck behind him the whole way. It could definitely lose out a lot of time because he's definitely looking past him and wanting to go for Gator.
As Peter Giordano on those medium tires is going to drive kind of angry now to try to make up those spots he lost earlier. He was all the way up in P3 at one point. Those fresh medium tires, he runs the fastest lap, but he's got Ethan Patel all over his bumper. Take a ride on here with Ethan. Watch him try to close that gap to Peter. Both of them on the same tire strategy. Ethan, he obviously has done a few more laps around here than Peter has since he drove in the earlier race. And right now, that was the closest battle on track. I'm going to jump back up to P8. It looks like Shaggy is going to get that move done across the timing line into P7, and now he is all over the back of... nobody. That was a lapped car I saw on the screen. So Shaggy Muffin's got some free air, but 17 laps, he's probably going to have to stop again because those tires are going to be screaming by the end of this stint.
Gator gets a 3-second penalty. Just looking over here, we've got multiple drivers. We got Gator and we've got Motor Lee with 6-second penalties cutting the track here.
Duncan with that 10-second penalty, you assume he'll serve that when he has to pit again. So that'll be cleared, and then depending on how far he drops back, it may not be a factor in this race. So resetting all the penalties, Tom with 3 seconds, Gator 6 seconds, Shaggy 3 seconds, Damien 3, Duncan 10, 6 for Moto Lee, 3 for Jack, 3 for Siggy, and 3 for Taylor Carter. So most of the field without penalties, no DNFs, only one virtual safety car and no safety car. So not a terrible start here. Resetting your pit stops. Looks like everyone has stopped. Tom, I just have a black and white flag. I'm not sure.
He's not stopped yet. He's still running on his medium tires.
Okay. Oh, okay, so no stop yet for Tom. So Tom on 19-lap-old mediums. You got to figure within the next 5 he's going to drop in and put on a set of softs and try to make up a bunch of laps here. Siggy right now within DRS range of Jack Fletcher back in P14. Siggy on those 4-lap-old softs should have an advantage over Jack on the 17-lap-old medium. So we're right along with Siggy in the McLaren here for a little bit as he gets DRS down towards turn 4.
Well, despite the rough beginning, Jack has been able to be up in P13, so it ain't over until it's over.
So currently only have 3 drivers within DRS range. Damien up in P9, still on the back of Jack Pemberton. Similar tire strategy. Our closest battle on track right now is Siggy, and I think Siggy, as we finish up Sector 2 here, is Ricardo goes 109.299 for the fastest lap. It looks like Siggy's going to be our best overtaking opportunity as long as he can keep it together through turn 14, nice and tight behind Jack. Turn 15, keep right on his tail, and see if Siggy gets on the battery. Here he does. He's going to use a little bit of push to pass, a little overtake, waiting for that DRS flap to open, and he is just going to fly around Jack as Jack actually goes into the pits to get off those old mediums. So Siggy inherits P13.
So Martin dropped down to P9. Damien just overtook, but that's not over. They've got DRS, and Aston Martin just took his position right back. Great fight between P8 and P9.
So our big movers today, it looks like Shaggy Muffin's moved up 8 spots. Tom 8 spots. That'll change though when Tom has to stop. Moto Lee has made 7 spots. Siggy's made 7 spots, and we have a yellow flag in Sector 1 for one of the Mercedes. Looks like, is that a Moto Lee? That is not a Moto Lee. That would be an Ethan Patel. So Ethan's had a moment. He was running really well behind the back of Peter Giordano and now has dropped back significantly. It's like Tom finally jumps into the pits, so Travis will inherit P3. Victor Diaz move up to P4 as Tom falls down the order. It's a very long pit lane on this track. It's a very long exit, and so what you would think would be a very quick pit stop can end up running you 26 to 28 seconds. And if you have damage, add another 5 to 10 seconds on top of that.
Very curious to see how Tom is going to recover with that pit. So he's got 14 laps to go, all on softs. He's going to be flying for at least the next 5 to 7 laps, and then eventually those tires are going to start to hit their drop off, and near the end, that's where it's going to be very difficult. We had a photo finish race finish in the second division between Sid and Gator, where Gator just overtook him at the very last end, and Sid had 17-lap-old softs, couldn't barely hold his own. Gator overtook him at the very last end of the first straight.
Just going to ride on board here a little bit with Jack Pemberton and Damian and watch them. Had a really nice moment between the two of them through turns 4 and 5. Went side by side. Nice, clean racing. Neither of them off the track. Gave plenty of space. Really respectful driving. And we'll just keep an eye on them for a little bit because I think they've earned a little attention through that nice gentlemanly driving. As Damian is all over the back of Jack now. He's got the DRS. He'll have it again in the next zone. And so we'll see maybe if he can get this done through turns 4 and 5 this time around. Not quite close enough that time around. Tom on his fresh medium tires has made up a spot on Moto Lee. He and his teammate Siggy were running together there for a little bit. And Tom seems to be pulling away, even though Moto Lee is directly behind him within the DRS range. So it looks as though I had another little moment there with the internet. Thank you. So right now, Siggy within DRS range of Moto Lee. I don't think we're going to see anything happen there for a little while. Shaggy Muffin and P6 on those 7-lap-old softs. Looks like Damian and Jack is really our best battle on track right now. I say that as Bob is starting to get up on the back of Peter Giordano down in P15. Peter on the much better strategy, though, so Bob can just kind of get pulled around the track by Peter at this point. That's the best he can hope for, unless something major happens in front of him. But Bob's tires will make it to the end. Peter's will also make it to the end, so I don't see a position change happening there. So Josh Barnsley back in P18 is wanting to close the gap here on Ethan, those 7-lap-old softs. I don't know if they have another 12 laps in them, but it'd be nice for Josh to make a couple spots here. Both of them good Division II rivals, love to race one another, and Ethan so far keeping it ahead of Josh.
Josh is right at that point where you want to make those tires last till the end, but you know they probably won't last till the end. And then pitting for another set of tires will definitely be slowing him down as well. So curious to see what decision he's going to decide to make. He's going to have to make it soon, if it were me.
Interesting decision here by Gator dropping into the pits, losing several spots, getting off those 10-lap-old mediums to go onto a set of softs. I don't really understand the thinking there. The mediums should make it to the end of the race. The softs are going to be the quicker tire, but enough to make up 4 spots. So he's got Siggy on old softs ahead of him, Moto Lee on fine hards, Tom on fresh softs, Jordan and Duncan are on a good set of mediums. So I don't know that he's going to make up enough points to make that stop worth it. So we'll see how that pays off for him.
Very curious strategy, and doesn't have that much battery in him. He's going to have to use it a lot to get past those drivers. He's going to run out of ERS eventually.
So his best hope is that Siggy decides to get off those softs pretty soon. He can make up that spot and then start to sort of chase down Moto Lee in 11th. But
yeah,
Siggy is closing the gap to Moto Lee. We'll move up and right on board with Siggy in the McLaren. He's within half a second. He's going to have DRS this time around, using a lot of battery. He's worn out his battery at this point. Going to have to recharge for a couple laps if he's going to keep pushing like this. It looks like Siggy is not going to get the move done. He has made up about 3/10 in that sector, and he's going to have DRS again. Headed down to turn 4. He's all over the back. And, yeah, Moto Lee just keeping that pace.
Having DRS hurts him there, exactly. Moto Lee is able to defend using that ERS. Siggy used it all up on that straight. Being a little bit more patient, just catching up and using the second DRS zone to catch him would have been a better strategy there. This one bites him.
Josh Barnsley said, that's enough with those soft tires. I'm going to go have a seat, probably put on a set of mediums, and just finish the race. Unless he's got another set of softs left in reserve, which it looks like he does. So
definitely does.
He's got a pretty good gap ahead of Joel down in P19. Joel with a disappointing turnout thus far. Taylor Carter's still down there in P20. Never made up those positions from earlier in the race when he had his moment.
So far, most drivers on mediums, they're very comfortable in ending the race on those mediums. The hard tires definitely will bring him to the end. But there's a couple drivers there, Shaggy Muffin, who just drove into the pits. And Siggy as well. We've got those soft tire guys leaving their tires. They're not going to go till the end.
So good news for Duncan McCamick is now he has an opportunity to chase down Damien. Duncan's tires will probably just make it to the end with 10 laps to go. And he is within DRS range of Damien. So lucky for Duncan, that's only one car he's got to overtake. He doesn't have to worry about overtaking Shaggy and Damien trying to get up there into P6. So just kind of running through the age of the tires, there's really not anyone else I would expect to stop at this point unless they were trying to steal a fastest lap from Ricardo at this point. But man, that was such a quick time. I don't know that you can do that.
Or unless they have damage.
So right now,
we should not see anybody on the pits.
So Ricardo right now with the fastest lap at a 109.3 effectively. It's a 102.999. Nobody else really within a half a second of that. So I think that's going to stick. I don't think there's anyone in real danger doing that. Maybe, pardon me, maybe a Peter Giordano goes and tries to steal that point, even though he won't get to keep it down in P13, but at least Ricardo doesn't pick it up that way.
Tom just had a little bit of a slippery moment on out on turn 1, and his fuel light is still yellow and it's still on, so I'm very curious to see, will he be able to bring this car until the end? Did he underfuel, hoping and praying for a safety car to help him out there? And that has not happened. While we're seeing a lot of drivers currently, they're really pushing it. A lot of them have brand new soft tires, are pushing it, and they're getting penalties for cutting the track. There's a lot of penalties we're seeing on this track, on this race today.
So Duncan has taken Damien there for P6, so he'll be happy to get that point haul after the disappointing week last week. And that currently takes everyone out of DRS range. So right now everyone's kind of running their own race, trying to figure out how to close the gap or not get the gap behind them closed. We haven't seen him in a little while, so let's take a look at our race leader, Ricardo. And right now we just see the camera off his bumper. So Ethan Patel picks up a 3-second penalty. So Ricardo is well clear, 7 seconds clear of his teammate, Alfonso Luis, who's down in second. And it looks like Alfonso is about to clear the lapped car of, I assume, Josh Barnsley. And so Barnsley should be getting blue flags here. And let me make sure that I'm correct in my... Yeah, that is Josh Barnsley. So he'll have to get out of the way here for... it looks like he's ghosted now for Alfonso. And then back in third place, Travis on those 14-lap-old hard tires. Travis just doing a solid job of working through the race to hold that podium position. Victor Diaz is back in P4 on those medium tires. And looks like he's got somebody behind him, but it's another lapped car. Jack Pemberton is back in P5. Kind of disappointing for him. He was up near the front for a very long time. He's running long on those hard tires, and that's going to be how he ends the race, probably around P5. There's nobody really closing up to him. And Duncan's back in P6, and then Damien P7, Jordan P8, and Tom P9. Gator fills out our top 10 in P10. It looks like Tom just reset to track. Interesting thing here on turn 15 there. If you go off the track and into the field, the game will reset you on that corner entry. And so it looks like a player reset, but it is actually a Codemasters issue. And we had it happen in Division 2. We just saw it happen again there with Tom. And as a result, Tom dropped some positions.
Tom Pemberton in P5 is going to try to catch up to Victor Diaz within 3 seconds, because Victor Diaz so far has got a 3-second penalty, while he doesn't have. And while we were looking at those races and talking about the times, we had both drivers who had just pitted up and to get softs, Diggy and then Shaggy Muffin, steal that that fastest lap from Ricardo. Shaggy Muffin's got a 109.256, and Ricardo had previously the fastest lap there with 109.299.
And unfortunately for Ricardo, he doesn't have enough gap behind to make any sort of sense for him to stop again, because if he were to pit right now, Travis Robinson would inherit second, and his teammate Alfonso Luis would go P1. So getting that fastest lap back would not be worth the major loss of 35 points here. Penalties are definitely going to come into play. If Jack Pemberton can close that up, Victor Diaz ahead of him has a 3-second penalty. Damian will beat Duncan, won't beat him on track, but will beat him on penalties. Duncan closing up now to the back of Jack, so we'll see what happens here. As they come into turn 4, Duncan had DRS on him. Duncan's on a charge. Again, you don't want to push too hard here with that 10 seconds of penalty, because even if you do get it around Jack and you end up having a moment, what was it worth? Because and as Duncan goes around, there's the broadcaster's curse. Duncan McCamick, I love you, brother, but that nothing to be done there. Just a little too hard of a push.
Luckily, didn't have any damage, but when you light up those tires, it is so difficult to keep proper race times in that sector too. Such windy, tight corners.
Duncan picks up another penalty.
Another penalty.
Now, Gator's all over the back him. Duncan's got to be very, very careful here. Once you get those tires hot, especially on a warm track like this where we have 31 degrees Celsius on the track, it's hard to get them cooled back off. And Duncan trying to move a little bit to break that toe, and Gator says, thank you very much. Go cool your tires off, and I will take P8 from you. Looks like we've got a yellow flag for an Ethan Patel, potentially. Ethan out in the grass, just out there cutting the grass, doing a little yard work, doing a little sightseeing, and he's going to slowly get it back on track and try to recover P17 for Ethan. Kind of disappointing. He's still in the race. Don't want to curse him as well. So we'll stop talking about Ethan and let him get on with what he's doing. It's like Tom down in P12's got to run on the back.
Again.
Oh, Ethan, I'm so sorry. I love you, brother. On board with Tom. Tom is all over the back. And it looks like Ethan's dealing with the same thing we just talked about with Duncan. Once those tires get hot, you have a little off like that. It's very difficult to recover, especially on a very warm track like this. So
Definitely. The sun's coming out.
Best thing to do right now is just recover, breathe, and just let the tires cool off a little bit. So right on board with Tom, he's still got that fuel light on. He was within DRS range of Moto Lee, but I think he's having to back off a little bit. I think he's concerned about running out before the end of the race. He's got about half his battery left, so well, he's definitely not on a recharge. He just used some of it to cross the start-finish line.
Yep. Somebody else who seems to have maybe a little less fuel is Jordan Angus, whose fuel light just turned on. Like I said when we started the race, even if you did fuel probably at the limit, this track tends to take more fuel than needed. So,
well, and as a result, Gator has been able to close that gap up even more. He took that spot from Duncan McCamick, and he's feeling hungry right now and about to chomp on the back of Jordan Angus's backside if Jordan doesn't watch those mirrors very closely here.
Jordan might get greedy because he's right in the DRS of Damian up front and Haas on P6. But he's got to save his fuel at the same time so he could get to the end of the race.
Gator on the slightly better tires right now. Should get good grip out of here. He's closing that gap slowly, just nibbling away until he's ready to pounce.
There he is with the wing open.
And we've had a little flip-flop of positions here. It looks like Damian's taking the position from Jordan. Gator, much, much faster. Passes Jordan, is now hunting down Damian.
Yep.
Duncan
Jordan went way too aggressive on the very first corner. Got on the inside, got a bit on the curve, and got slippery while on the throttle. Just lost position to Gator, and he's not fighting and keep it.
This is our best battle on track right now. Gator all over the back of Damian. Gator on the slightly better tires, but Damian's got a lot of life left in his tires, so he can push a little bit, but you don't want to push too much. Looks like Siggy and Bob Blabla down in 15th and 16th just swapped spots. I think Siggy will probably take that right back. Siggy all over the back of him.
Interesting that Bob Blabla took that position from him with 23 lap olds hards. Siggy's got softs, but they're only 6 laps old, so he's probably got a lot more grip than him. He should have.
Joel
Unless
Garon
he had too much pressure and his tires, and they're probably red hot.
1 lap to go. Joel Garon is back in the pits. He's going to throw in a set of soft tires. He's going for that fastest lap. Wants to take that point away from, I believe Shaggy has it right now. We'll take a look at Ricardo T as he finishes up here, Sector 2, and he's going to start his final lap. He's got a couple of lap cars he's going to catch in front. So Ricardo has done exactly what we expected from him. He's taken care of his tires. He's made up his positions after the pit stops, and he's just driven a really, really clean race all race.
Just took care of his car there. Definitely got to give props to Alfonso, I believe, in the P2, Lamphey.
Yeah, Alfonso Luis.
And then we got P3 to AlphaTauri that's coming in.
It looks like Siggy and Bob Loblaw swapped those positions back, but Bob's still over the back of him. Duncan really needs to make up some time here. He's all over the back of Jordan Angus, who's on the back of Damien. They're on the better tires right now, even though Damien's got more life in his tires. But here we go on our final lap as our leader just runs away from everyone else through Sector 2. And he is only 0.04 down on his best time right now on the final lap with 21 old lap mediums. That tells you what a consistent driver he is. As we're watching on board, his fuel light is flashing. He was also expecting a safety car and was sadly disappointed, but looks to have just enough fuel to make it home. Peter Giordano just made up a spot on Tom, so Peter back up to P12 after that disappointing incident earlier. Damian Jordan, looks like they swapped positions. Gator's up to P6. Duncan takes Jordan's position. And we'll take a ride along with our race leader as he comes around the final turn all by his lonesome. No DRS. Battery at 0. Gas is flashing. And Ricardo says, thank you very much. I'll take another win. So 8 seconds behind him, Alfonso Luis crosses the line. Behind them, Travis Robinson now crosses the line. Next up will be Victor Diaz. Victor will finish P4 on those 19, now 20 lap old mediums. Jack Pemberton has recovered a little bit to come back to P5. P6 will go to Gator. All in all, not a terribly exciting race as we cycle through the field. Damien in P7, now coming down the straight, followed by Shaggy Muffin in 8th. Jordan Angus in 9th. So the person we kind of want to watch right now is Joel Guron as he comes around. He's got a really good toe. Oh, no, he doesn't have a toe. He's got it behind him, and Joel does set the fastest lap. 1:08.6, so he will take that point away from Shaggy Muffins in 10. Shaggy would have got to keep that point.
Giving up.
So Red Bull's fighting all the way to the end, even when it didn't seem to matter. It still matters in the championship for the constructors.
The final results are still being compiled with the penalties being calculated. We had Shaggy Muffin dropping down on the order a little bit. I believe he was finishing P10 instead of P8.
Yeah, so it looks like getting some information from the pit walls now. It looks like the AlphaTauri and Red Bull teams had a little run in there on the last lap. Jordan Angus and Duncan McCamick not real pleased with the way they finished there. Something happened, so we'll find out more about that as we move forward with the weekend, and stay tuned here for all the updates and highlights. So recapping, Ricardo just leads from lap 1, falls behind a little bit on the pit strategy, but makes those up as pit stops unfurl. P2 goes to his teammate Alfonso Luis, so Alfonso will still stay atop of the driver standing, and Alfa Romeo will stay on top of the constructor standing. So running it back down, Ricardo, Alfonso, Travis, Victor, Jack Pemberton, Gator, Damian, Jordan, Peter Giordano, and P9. Shaggy Muffin rounds out your top 10. Tom, Duncan McCamick, Jack Fletcher, Moto Lee. So really good race all the way around. And P15 down, looking at Sicky, Bob Loblaw, Josh Barnsley, Ethan Patel, Joel Guron, who did steal the fastest lap point away but doesn't get to keep it, and Taylor Carter down in P20. Well, let's try to talk to some of our guys. We'll start with your fellow Canadian, Travis Robinson. Travis, really solid race, another podium. Tell us about that race. How'd it go from your perspective?
Hey guys. Yeah, not too bad. I was a little bit disappointed in my strategy decision. I gotta give like a maps to Ricardo, and I think that was Alfonso in front of me because they made those mediums work, and I was blown away. I super impressive stuff. So disappointed in my own race, but like they drove such a good race on those old mediums. So I'm not too disappointed. They drove great.
So we generally see that the hard tire is not a great tire. It can really be hard to drive on. Did you have any issues with it as far as temperature? Obviously, wear is not a factor. It's going to last longer, but did you feel like it was slower? It was wearing quicker than you thought
Um,
it might be?
yeah, no, honestly, it was so much slower than I thought it was going to be in its second half of its life. I really thought those mediums were going to fall off way sooner and I'd be able to catch up, but they apparently didn't. My hards ended up being at 70 some odd percent by the end of it, so I don't really know what happened there. But yeah, no, they did not perform anywhere close to what I had hoped. But oh well.
Well, I wish I lived in your shoes where P3 was a disappointment, but I understand when you expect to be leading out front, and P3 is not what you showed up for today. But good race, brother.
Yeah, thanks guys.
All right, Travis, thank you.
Have a
We're
good
gonna
one.
go ahead and grab our P2 finisher. Currently your leader in the championship, and it looks like that lead's gonna stick. Also leading constructors, we got Alfonso Luis with us. So
Hello,
P2,
guys.
Alfonso, really good team strategy there. Take us through that race.
Yeah, well, I had another league race in Brazil. I went for the soft to hards on that league race. It was a very bad strategy. I lost out, so I learned from that mistake and went for the soft mediums.
So yeah, talking to Travis just now, he said the same thing near the end. He was about 70% worn on his hards, and he was not enjoying lights. They weren't as quick as he thought they might be. So it sounds like a little research, a little team strategy paid off there.
Yeah, it did. It paid off.
So P2, you and Ricardo just absolutely dominating right now. Is there anyone or anything that can stop Alfa Romeo at this point?
I mean, Aston Martins are looking strong, but I'm not sure what happened. They fell off after the pit stops happened. So, yeah, looking out for Travis Robinson and Aston Martins.
Absolutely. So yeah, it looked like the Aston Martins decided they would rather spin and break their wings than challenge you today. So be ready for next week. They're going to want to make that up for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Alfonso, congratulations on P2.
Okay, thank you guys. Bye.
At some point, at some point, Ricardo's going to get tired of talking to us. I mean, at some point he's got to get tired of winning, right? Ricardo, are you getting tired of running out front and just running away from everyone? Or are you still enjoying it?
Nah, nah. Always enjoying it, being at the front. Even though I win by quite a big margin, it's always enjoyable to win and to get pole.
So if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to go back and look at everything. That is a sweep of the Americas for you, right? You won COTA, you won Canada, you won Mexico, you won Brazil. You dominate the Western Hemisphere, my friend.
Yeah, all races, all dominated, like I promised.
You did. You did promise you would do that. So take us through the race from your perspective. Was there anything that surprised you? Anything where you and Alfonso needed to work together? There was a spot there towards the end when you guys were going to pit, or in the first pit strategy. It looked like you both were trying to decide who was going to pit, who wasn't. Had Peter right on your tail, and so how do you decide who pits and who stays out?
Yeah, in the first stint with the soft, I was actually pretty amazed that we were all pretty close, the two Alfa Romeos, the two Aston Martins, and Travis. And yeah, the initial strategy was that I was going to pit after him in lap 15 or so, but I saw that the Aston Martin pitted first, so I was kind of scared of him making the undercut. So I pitted for the mediums. I know they were going to make it easily to the end. And I don't know why Travis told me his cards were like 70% and my mediums were like 50% and at the end. So yeah, it was quite tough with Peter in the first few laps. Actually, pretty clean battle, and I have to say that was one of the toughest battles I've had in league races in a while. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Ranger, you got anything?
I'm all good. You went through the whole race, very detailed. Very impressed by the fact that you could win so many races and do it in such a dominant fashion. So, congrats to you, Ricardo.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That,
And there's a reason we call him Checo Perez Jr., looking after those tires and doing better on the mediums than Travis did on the hard. So well done by you. Good strategy, good race, and just all the way around. It's really great to have you here.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Really.
congratulations, Ricardo.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Have a good night.
See you guys.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us from here in Brazil. We had a few drivers had disappointing moments. We had a lot of exciting battles on track, big clusters of DRS zones. The DRS is super powerful around here, but all in all, a good weekend. A lot of people disappointed, like Travis in P3. I don't understand that. I'd be really happy with a podium, but you set your expectations high, you're going to go high in life. Ranger, any closing thoughts?
Great racing this weekend from all divisions. Honestly, we've been keeping an eye on those. So keep tabs on the league. If you haven't already done the classical like and subscribe, definitely would be appreciated. And keep following us. We got some great racing coming in next week. We're going to Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. It's going to be an amazing race, an amazing weekend for all three divisions. So I'm very excited to possibly broadcast, depending on what the lineup goes ahead. Thank you for allowing me to broadcast. It was my second time only, so great experience once again. Otherwise, I'll be on track for the Division 2, and see you then.
All right, Ranger, thank you so much. Thank you all for tuning in with us tonight. Remember, like Ranger said, like, subscribe. Also look for our Instagram, for our Twitter, and join us on Discord. A lot of good stuff on here. Even if you're not interested in racing, we do have other things that we do together. We have fun community events. We also race ACC, and we'll have some highlights coming your way very,